Picture this, right? You walk out to your garden, cup of coffee in hand, you're ready to just admire your plants. But then you see them. Your absolute favorite plants, suddenly covered in these mysterious, ugly spots. It is so frustrating. I mean, one day your tomato or lettuce is the picture of perfect health, and the next, bam, it looks like it's under siege. You're kind of left wondering, what on earth happened here? Was it a weird weather shift, bugs, or is there some microscopic invaders secretly taking over your garden? Well, today we are setting up a botanical detective story to find out exactly what's going on. Welcome to this explainer. I am so pumped to guide you through this because today we're focusing on uncovering the microscopic culprit behind these sudden plant blemishes. We're taking a real deep dive into bacterial leaf spot. We're going to break down the science, examine the evidence, and give you the exact tools you need to protect your plants. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today's forensic investigation. Number 1, the plant crime scene. Number 2, defining bacterial leaf spot. Number 3, gathering the visual evidence. Number 4, the disease triangle. And finally, number 5, managing the outbreak. Section 1, the plant crime scene. You know, whenever you see damage on a plant, you really have to treat it methodically. Literally just like a detective rolling up to a crime scene. Before we jump to conclusions and just assume it's an infection, we gotta rule out the other suspects. So plant pathologists use this model called the disease circle. It basically divides plant problems into two main categories, biotic and abiotic. Okay, so abiotic factors, those are your non-living stressors. Think of things like a sudden cold snap, maybe some chemical injury from herbicide drift, or, a really severe drought. When damage is abiotic, it usually hits suddenly right after a specific event. And here's the key, it doesn't actually spread from plant to plant over time. On the flip side, biotic factors are living organisms, fungi, viruses, nematodes, and bacteria. These guys act like an invading army. If the problem is biotic, you're almost always going to see those symptoms progressively spread and multiply. It's just new damage day after day.
And this table here, it is brilliant for showing exactly how we differentiate our living suspects. So if it's a fungal pathogen, the spots are usually pretty circular, kind of dry, and they spread gradually over weeks. Viral pathogens, on the other hand, they don't typically leave defined spots at all. Instead, they cause this systemic mottle or stunting, usually emerging in the new growth. But look right there in the middle column. That's our main suspect. Bacterial pathogens. They create these very specific angular shapes. The texture is often described as water-soaked or oily. The borders can actually eventually drop out to form these shot holes. And absolutely crucially, their time frame is rapid. We're talking days. Under the right conditions, bacteria can ravage a plant in mere days.
Section 2, defining bacterial leaf spot. Okay, so now that we know we're looking for a rapid, oily, angular invader, let's actually identify the specific offenders. The most common culprits invading our gardens are bacterial species called Pseudomonas and Xanthomonas. And what makes these bacteria so incredibly stealthy is that they'll often just live completely harmlessly, in small numbers, right on the surface of your plant leaves, just hanging out, waiting. Then, when the environment shifts to moist, really humid conditions, boom, they multiply exponentially. And honestly, here's a kind of terrifying fact for gardeners. Unlike some diseases that need a physical cut or a scrape to infect a plant, Pseudomonas and Xanthomonas, no wound required. They can literally slip right in through the plant's natural microscopic pores. And once they're inside, they get straight to work. Notice how the dark spots on this leaf here aren't perfect circles? They have these sharp, straight edges. Why is that? Well, as the bacteria multiply, they initially spread out through the tiny spaces between the plant cells, but their progress is abruptly halted the second they hit the leaf's vascular veins. It's like hitting a brick wall. Those veins literally barricade the bacteria into these highly distinct angular borders. So whenever you see these geometric, vein-limited lesions, your internal alarm bells should be ringing. That right there is a bacterial infection.
Section 3, gathering the visual evidence.
I want to challenge you to look even closer at the visual forensics of these leaves. That way, you can confidently confirm this bacterial hypothesis right in your own backyard. We've got a tomato leaf on the left and a lettuce leaf on the right here, both super common victims. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the coloration right around the dark damage. Do you see those distinct yellow or sometimes even reddish halos totally encircling the dark necrotic lesions? That halo is a massive telltale sign of a bacterial infection. The bacteria are essentially poisoning the plant tissue as they push outward, causing that distinct chlorotic yellow ring just ahead of the dead brown center.
But remember, it is not just about how it looks, it's about how it acts over time. Look at the disease's rapid polycyclic progression mapped out right here. And by the way, polycyclic just means the pathogen goes through multiple cycles of infection, reproduction, and spread all in a single season. So day 1, you might just see pinpoint dark green water-soaked spots. Fast forward to day 4, those spots enlarge, they hit the veins, turn angular, and develop those yellow halos we just talked about. By day 7, the dead tissue in the center actually dries completely out and drops right out of the leaf. It leaves what experts call a shot hole appearance. Fungal cycles, they generally take a week or more just to complete one single cycle, but bacteria can go from a pinpoint to a full-on shot hole in a matter of days.
Section 4. The disease triangle.
Okay, now that we've seen the devastation, we really need to shift our focus. We have to move from merely reacting to these visual symptoms to actually understanding the underlying mechanics of how these outbreaks happen in the first place. Plant pathologists use this brilliant concept known as the disease triangle. Basically, for any infectious disease to take hold, 3 conditions have to exist at the exact same time. First, you need a susceptible host. This could be a specific tomato variety or maybe just a plant that's already stressed by poor nutrition. Second, you need the pathogen present, which, as we know, are our bacterial suspects Pseudomonas or Xanthomonas. Third, and this is the most crucial one for gardeners, you need a favorable environment. For bacteria, this means high humidity, warm temperatures, and free water sitting on the leaves. But here is the absolute magic of the triangle. If you break just one of those 3 sides, the disease simply cannot fully develop.
Section 5. Managing the outbreak. Which brings us to our final and definitely most actionable phase. Let's translate all these forensic findings into practical steps to defeat the pathogen. Because bacteria relies so heavily on water to travel, altering your garden's environment is absolutely the best way to break that disease triangle. Let's walk through these precise prevention tactics. Step 1. Avoid overhead watering. Bacteria are spread primarily by water splashing from leaf to leaf or soil to leaf, so water right at the base of the plant early in the day. Step 2. If you do spot an infection, go ahead and remove the diseased tissues, but only when the plant is completely dry. If you handle wet, infected plants, you're just going to spread the bacteria even further. Step 3. Disinfect your pruning tools in 70% alcohol between every single cut. Otherwise, your clippers, they're basically just a free taxi service for the bacteria. And step 4. Use pasteurized potting mixes in clean containers. That ensures you aren't accidentally introducing the pathogen right up from the soil.
So the crucial point here is that prevention is key. Now, you might be wondering, hey, why can't I just spray something on it? Well, as our sources highlight, chemical applications are usually totally ineffective against bacterial leaf spots. Why is that? Because once those bacteria multiply, they often enter the vascular system of the plant, meaning the infection becomes systemic. It is literally inside the plant's plumbing. No topical spray in the world is going to save a plant once the bacteria are systemic and causing severe spotting or wilting. Sanitation, moisture control, and prevention. Those are your true and really only lines of defense.
So let's leave off with this thought. Is your garden unintentionally completing the disease triangle? I want you to take a look at your own watering habits tonight. Are your sprinklers hitting the leaves right at dusk, leaving them wet and humid all night long? Are your plants packed way too closely together, preventing good airflow? Because you might be secretly providing the absolute perfect crime scene for bacterial leaf spot. By changing just a few environmental factors, you can stop this microscopic invader right in its tracks and keep your garden thriving. Thanks so much for exploring the fascinating forensics of plant health with me. Keep learning and keep growing.